Go back to the main camera. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a little bit frustrating. So I've been presenting for 4 minutes and I forgot to press go live, which is brilliant. Because yeah, that's a little bit frustrating, I'm afraid. But never mind. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the M Word. My name's Robin. I'm the technical director here at Man & Machine, and it is a pleasure to have you with me this afternoon. Deja vu. It sounds like I've already said this because I have. Silly me for not pressing the go live button. Good job I didn't get to the end. So we've got a new toy today. We're blessed with this GoPro Hero 13 Black Creators Edition. And this is going to hopefully enable us to do some different type of content with you during these sessions and through the other kind of sessions that we have within our M Word sessions and on our YouTube channel and other socials. So with a bit of luck, I'm going to try and hand the camera over to the GoPro, and I should be able to show you how it works. So, we can go from having our fixed equipment. If I just spin the camera around, this is our green room here at Man & Machine Towers, aptly named because we have a lovely green wall. And this is where we do our sessions every week. So we have our equipment in the corner, which runs our stream, which Ellie's currently controlling for you. And we sit here within our green room running these sessions. And if you are new to these sessions, if you haven't seen them before, this is, or these sessions are here really to give you a tip or a trick or something within the Autodesk software that we sell and support to show you a new workflow or teach you how to use a new piece of software. So today we're going to be looking at Autodesk Navisworks. Those of you that haven't used Navisworks before, it's a really nice tool that enables you to review files. It enables you to do clash detection, do some 4D analysis and things like that inside of the application with files from AutoCAD or files from Revit or anything like that. So should you need to collaborate between multiple disciplines, for example, or should you want to just open up a couple of Revit files and clash them together, you have the ability to do so. So that's what we're going to have a little look at today. If I just make my way back towards the green room here at Man & Machine, and this should hopefully be a useful session. The idea here is really show you from scratch how to use Navisworks and how to start getting the most out of the clash detections within that application. So tour over, or at least tour of the ground floor. Maybe we should do a full tour, maybe on one of these, show you around the office upstairs. But let me just hand back over to the camera. Like so. Let me just stop that and save my battery because they're not the best batteries in the world. And now we are back to our usual area. So if you haven't seen these sessions before, give us a like, give us a subscribe, follow us, turn on the notifications so that you can see when we go live. We do these every week, Thursday at 2 o'clock, unless you forget to press the live button, in which case at 5 minutes past 2 every Thursday. But yes, check us out on YouTube. We've got loads of content, all of these. This is episode 60, if you can believe it. So 60 of these to previously go back to and watch. But we put new content up every week about lots of different tools within the Autodesk ecosystem. So without any further ado, I'm going to shrink myself down to the corner and take a swig of tea. And just like magic, I'm sharing my screen. So this is Navisworks. I'm working in 25 as opposed to, sorry, much like all of the other applications that we demo. The workflow here, it's not changed. So it doesn't matter if you're using an older version. I'm using Navisworks Manage. There's also Navisworks Simulate and Navisworks Freedom as well. Simulate and Freedom do not let you do clash detection, so you will need Manage if you want to carry out the clash detections on your files. And what I'm going to do, just to keep this really transparent, is I'm going to go ahead and open up a file inside of Revit. Let's just use this sample building that I've got saved. I think we went through this a few weeks ago. So we're just going to open this up inside of Revit, and we've got something that looks like this. And I'm going to model up a couple of purposeful clashes. So let's go onto my ground floor plan. I don't think there's any clashes in this particular file at the moment, but what we're going to do is maybe add a couple of internal walls that that clash with some different components. So let's add a 75mm stud, and let's put a wall from here to here, and from here to here. And then let's maybe go onto our Systems tab. Let's draw a duct. Let's draw that duct that is maybe something like, I don't know, let's just do a meter off the floor so it's easy enough to find. And then let's draw that through a couple of walls over here. I've not got any elbows in here or anything like that, so my fittings aren't going to work, but let's do that, and let's place a couple of bits of furniture. And again, I will purposefully make them clash with different components in and around the model, like so. And then I'm just going to go and save that somewhere that I can find it. Let's just do a save as. I'm going to save that on my desktop and call that Building Clash. So all I've done, again, I like to keep these transparent. It might seem that what I'm doing is very, very simple, but I want you to be able to follow me along so that you can learn how to do this stuff on your own. So a basic Revit model, and I've just purposefully made some clashes. Inside of Navisworks, then, I'm going to create a brand new file. And then what we do in Navisworks is we append data in. In the industry, you might know this as federate. So we've got the ability to federate models into a single digital twin, if you want to call them that. But I'm going to bring lots of different files together, potentially in Navisworks, to create one environment inside of Navis that I can use to review and collaborate. In this case, I'm going to do one file just to keep it simple. But I'm going to go ahead and choose Append. And then I'm going to go and browse to the desktop folder that I have, and it's this Clash folder there. When you bring a file into Navisworks, Navisworks will convert that file to a Navisworks file. And as part of doing that, it's going to read all the geometry that exists next to that Navisworks file itself. And it's also going to read all the different properties that the components have, in this case, inside of Revit. And then it's going to build up what's called a Navisworks cache. So when Navisworks is working, you have the Navisworks file itself, and then that file is reading a local Navisworks cache. So if I just open up Windows Explorer, and I'm going to browse to my desktop, what we're going to be able to see on my desktop, if I just search for the same file, and do a little save on my desktop, I'm going to put it into a folder called Navisworks Temp and just save it in there. What we'll be able to see next to our Navisworks file itself, if I can find where it's gone. So we've got this Navisworks file set. Come back. There we go. We've got this Navisworks file set. Okay. This is the actual Navisworks file itself, and that contains everything pertaining to the Revit file that we brought in, and anything within the Navisworks file itself that that we want to clash. And then we also have, if I bring this back up, next to the file that we've brought in, we'll have a Navisworks cache file. And that cache file is the Navisworks version of the model that you've imported. And we can see it on our screen here. Navigating in here is the same as Revit, so zoom in and out with your mouse. Wherever your mouse is centered will be the focal point for your zoom. Middle mouse button is panning, and hold down Shift with the middle mouse button to orbit. And there we have our file. I can open up the selection tree, which is like a model browser view, if you like, on the left-hand side of my screen. And in there, you can see that it understands and appreciates the hierarchy of the Revit file. This is particularly important when we're working with files from the building information modeling workflow, especially something like an IFC. So we would see the IFC site in here, and the buildings and the levels and the rooms and the spaces. It understands that workflow, which is really important. Because of that, I can come in and start looking at all the doors on the ground floor, or all of the walls on the ground floor, or all of the windows on the ground floor, and it will start to look at where windows or where walls or where doors are hosted and selecting the individual elements, which is really, really good. If I select something with my mouse individually, like this particular window, you can see on the right hand side we have a level of information, which are the properties that have been extracted from Revit. And dependent on the level that you are with regards to your selection, you'll see that you in some cases get just a few properties, whereas at different levels you get the actual property sets. If you're struggling with that, you can just right click on your model and you can choose your set selection resolution. So you've got file, then layer, then first object, then last object, then geometry. I'm currently on last object, which is the last object in the tree for the component that we have selected. If we change our selection to first object and make the first selection, you'll see that it's selecting the individual component and therefore showing you all of the property sets and properties against the component itself. So when you're using Navisworks, especially for the first time, make sure you select your selection priority to something that is relevant. That aside, we're not here to focus on how to use Navisworks today. I recommend you check out our YouTube site. Ellie will put a pop-up on the screen with our socials on now. But check out our Navisworks site. No, check out our YouTube site because we've got how-tos on all sorts of bits and pieces on Navisworks on there. What we're focusing on today is how to start clashing. And actually, it's really, really straightforward. Once you've got your model or models loaded into Navisworks, we've got our Clash Detective at the top of the screen, which we can open up. I'm just going to drag it out. It's docked by default to the bottom of your screen. I'm just going to drag it out so it's a floating window here, just to make it a little bit easier for you guys at home to be able to see. And actually, there's a fair few tools and options here for you available inside of Navisworks. We're not going to show them all today. We don't have time to show every different nut, bolt, and washer that you can use Navisworks for. But I'm going to talk through a number of them. The first thing that we need to do is we need to add a test. So we can do that in one of two ways. If you've got a test that you've pre-configured or used on another project, then we can use import clash tests, tongue-tied today. You can import clash tests to be able to reuse the tests again. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add a test from scratch. Once you've added that test, you can come in and give it a name. So I'm going to say my first clash test. And then you can see that this has got areas where it would give us feedback on results. That will only appear when you have run this for the first time. So I'm going to just leave that as it is. Then if we come down here, we have two selections. This is where I could select an entire model on the left versus an entire model on the right. So I could say clash the entirety of the building with the entirety of the building. Or if you've got a much larger project here, we can get a little bit more specific. And this is important from a workflow perspective, because you might want to say, well, actually, I need to go and look throughout my ground floor and I want to go and pick all of my walls. And then I want to clash all of my walls with all of my walls, furniture, planting, and ducts, for example. Structure, steel, piping, whatever it might be. So we can be as specific as we want to be, down to an individual component if you wanted to. Okay, so first things first, select what you want to clash between and what you want to clash to. Again, today, I'm just going to select clash everything with everything, but you can see how I can go through and be quite specific about how we're wanting to clash. If I had multiple files loaded, it would show them in the tree here. And that includes point clouds. So Navisworks does support bringing in point clouds and bringing in 2D geometry, such as an AutoCAD DWG. And therefore, when we're clashing, we can choose to clash 3D surfaces, 2D lines, or even points. So I've got the ability to clash a Revit file against an as-built scan, for example. So you choose your selection and then you specify how you want it to clash. As well as choosing your clash tools, you can also then set specific settings. So would you like to have a hard clash, so something that's physically clashing against something else and going through something else? Or would you like to have a clearance clash, which in Navisworks is known as a soft clash? That will allow you to specify that you want to have a given space around something before it picks it up as a clash. That's particularly useful for corridors because we can select 2 runs of walls, for example, and see if we've got enough space in there for building regulations to get a wheelchair down there, or for accessibility or circulation, for example. So we've got a lot of options in here dependent on how you want to use this toolset. For today, we're just going to do a hard clash, everything against everything. We have got some other rules that we can go through, so we can make it ignore things that are in the same group or ignore things in the same file, so on and so forth. And we can also go in here and select new rules where we can go and choose specified things to ignore. And an example of that might be if I've got something like a 15mm PVC pipe going through a partition wall, I really don't care if that clashes. I just cut through the wall when it comes to constructing that on site. But if I've got something that's more specific that requires specific machinery or an actual problem, like a steel in the wrong place or something like that, then they're things that I do want to pick up on. And I can use this rules editor to get quite specific around things that I do or don't want to be picked up as a clash. Once you're ready to go, we're going to go ahead and click Run Test. And actually, it's super fast. Even if you've got a fairly complex or a fairly large file, the actual clashing itself doesn't take that long, in honesty. If it's a huge file and you've got several files federated together, it's not going to be instant as mine just was, but it's still very quick. And the reason for that is it's using that Navisworks cache. Again, it's not going back and referencing the Revit file, it's looking at the geometry that's been created in the cache file, which is why you'll start to see some oddities going on with regards to the wireframe in the background. I'm just going to dock this to the bottom of my screen just by dragging the window onto one of these little gizmos or nodes just here. And what you can see has happened is it's given me a load of clashes. And if I zoom out, you'll see that it started to highlight the clash with 2 colors. If I go ahead and click clashes, my view changes and my zoom level changes to show me that particular clash. It's doing that using the display settings. They're on the right hand side over here on this little fly out. So if I bring the left arrow across to fly them out, we can choose to highlight the items. We can choose to highlight all clashes at once. We can hide the other components, dim the other components, transparent dimming, all sorts of different options that, to be frank, you just need to come in here and tweak them and fine-tune them to your specific requirements, depending on what is useful to you and probably the complexity of the file. But we can configure and set up exactly what happens with regards to the viewport on that particular clash. I've just managed to drag my clash detective somewhere and I don't know where it's gone. It's gone somewhere. Where's it gone? Anyone with eagle eyes on the comments, if you can see where it's gone, please let me know. Clash detective. Alt space M arrow key. No, it's gone. Where's it gone? Let's close my properties. No, it's not there. Is it behind the selection tree? No, it's not there either. Is it in the background? Nope, it's not there either. Well, that's a new one. I've managed to hide the clash detective. It's not on a different screen. It's not floating. Where's it gone? I'm very confused. Where are you? Alt space M. Nope, that's disappeared completely. Oh, that's frustrating. Let me just put a save on. It's going to remember where it's gone. Need to reset full screen mode. Is that going to help me at all? Nope. Full screen mode is not going to help me. Split view, is that going to help me? No, it is not. I have lost my clash detective window, which is a little bit frustrating if I'm honest with you, because I can't see where it's gone. This has really thrown me. Oh, we need to let's load the default workspace and just have Navisworks standard. Hopefully that will bring it back. Clash Detective on. There we go. It's hidden itself over there. Good. So if that happens to you, just go to View and use the Load Workspace to just load the default workspace up. But hopefully it won't. So once that Clash Detective has found your results, each one is saved as a clash. And using those display options that I was showing you there on the right-hand side, you can customize and tweak how the individual clashes are displayed on your screen, which is really useful. And then each clash has a number of options dedicated to it. So I can go to any individual clash, and against each clash, I've got a number of properties. I can change the status of the clash. I can start saying that I want to approve a clash, I want to assign a clash, so on and so forth. If we were working with the Autodesk Construction Cloud, we can download the issues add-in, and we can start synchronizing issues with clashes, so on and so forth. What it's doing in the background for each clash, it's going ahead and it's going to create a viewpoint. A viewpoint's like a saved view. So what I can do is for each clash that's created, I can tell it to save an individual viewpoint. For each one of those, if I go and say, go ahead and show me my save views on the right, you'll notice that against my viewpoints, I can start to report each of these clashes out, and I can write the report for a given test into viewports. That will give me a folder of clash tests, and each one of those clashes will be given its own view inside of the viewport, where it's going to go and select and highlight the components that are part of that clash. That would then allow me to go in and further create redline markup or whatever it might be. So again, should you want to just get the results out and work on them, you can, or you can start going through them piece by piece within this, this interface here. So for this component, for example, we can grab this, we can say that this is an active clash. I can grab the approved section here. If I right click on it, we can assign. It's just a text field. It's not going to do anything particularly clever, but I can go ahead and say that I want myself to resolve this, and I'm going to say just looks like it has been placed wrong. Please fix. We can then, once this goes full circle, we can start assigning different comments to it, for example, and we can start pasting our name into the approved section and getting an audit trail to build up here. The key is we can come in and decipher what's happening at any point in time with any one of those clashes. And because it's working on the Navisworks and Revit link, as this gets resolved inside of Revit, we can simply reload the Revit file back into Navisworks. We can rerun the clash, and it will start to give me feedback in that I could go back and look at clash 3. It will show me the components, and I can reevaluate whether there is still a clash there or not. Clearly, the program wouldn't pick it up as a clash if there wasn't a clash there, but I can use this report to go through systematically and update things based on what's happened, because it's not going to physically run the clashes again until I press run test. So very quickly, whether you're 2D to 2D, 2D to 3D, 3D to 3D, or 3D to point cloud, we can bring the files in, we can run clashes between the files, and we can instantly start working through them. This is a very simple example that I've done here. But as you start getting wider examples, we create clash groups to maybe group several types of the same clash together so that you don't have to work through all of them systematically. The process is fairly manual, but we've got filtering tools on the right-hand side. We can go in and start working on things based on our selection set before we start clashing to filter down what it is that we're clashing in the first place. So generally speaking, within a very short space of time, we can start loading files into Navisworks and getting it to create those clashes for us. Once the clashes are there, we can get an appreciation of them, decide actually whether or not there is anything there that we need to work on. We can report them out to viewpoints directly inside of Navisworks. We can create separate HTML documents if you really want to, or if you're using Construction Cloud, we can push those into issues on Autodesk Docs to be able to manage them directly through Revit. Switchback can also be used in Navisworks, which will allow you to switch back to Revit from the Navisworks interface. So if you are the designer and you're also the reviewer, you can select the component inside of Revit from the clash environment. So let's go ahead and look at our, where's my clash detective gone again? Why have you disappeared again? Because it's turned off. I can go back to my clash detective. I can go and select one of the components that's clashing. Let's go and pick this one. I can select an individual component. Within there, I've got a new mouse and the scroll is terrible. Let's just zoom in a little bit. So I can select this component, and from the component, we can say that we want to switch back. That would take me into Revit and focus on that component in Revit, which is brilliant to be able to then change the component, remove it, whatever it might be, to fix that on the fly. And really, that's kind of what I wanted to show. Short and sweet, but shows you how you can very quickly open up Navisworks, bring in a Revit file, and start to do some very, very quick clashes. I hope that was useful. Let us know what you want to see next time. Give us a comment, give us some feedback, and we'll see you again same time next week for another edition of The M Word. Take care. See you soon. Goodbye.